Welcome to today's Explainer, everyone. We are digging into something genuinely fascinating today, a complete system upgrade for our entire planet. We're going to dive into the living blueprint of architecting the green economy, focusing heavily on what are known as Unit 5 green skills. So think of this not just as a shift in jobs or some changing career landscape, but as a massive, urgent software patch for how human industry operates on Earth.
Think about it for a second. What if the absolute most important job of the 21st century isn't some shiny new technological invention, but rather a fundamental upgrade to everything we already do? That's a pretty powerful thought, right? We aren't just talking about a niche green industry here. We are talking about a sweeping ground-up transformation across literally every sector of our lives to ensure planetary survival.
Here is the blueprint we're unpacking today. 1. The new industrial mandate. 2. Defining green-collar workers. 3. Upgrading agriculture and transport. 4. Shielding against greenhouse gases. 5. Closing the circular economy. And 6. Scaling impact for survival.
Section 1. The new industrial mandate.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We need to start by understanding the root of the problem and why our old industrial models are, well, completely obsolete. We all know the legacy system, those gray smokestacks and the linear take, make, dispose resource extraction we're all so used to. But the rapid depletion of resources, rising pollution, and totally unpredictable climate patterns, they've made this model a dead end. The response has to be a total economic transition. Initiatives like the Make in India campaign are recognizing this right now. They're actively integrating environmental preservation directly into economic growth to create entirely new markets. We are basically shifting from that gray industrial past to a vibrant future driven by energy efficiency and resource conservation.
Section 2. Defining green-collar workers.
So, who exactly is going to build this new reality? To get a concrete understanding, let's look at the United Nations Environment Programme's official definition. They define a green-collar worker as someone holding jobs that help bring about and maintain the transition to environmentally sustainable forms of production and consumption. It's a super clear, authoritative definition. These aren't just everyday jobs, folks. They are absolutely crucial transition mechanisms.
And you know, what's really fascinating is how green jobs aren't just isolated, brand new skills that popped out of nowhere. Instead, it's more like a powerful mashup. It's traditional skills like architecture, plumbing, engineering, and farming, merging seamlessly with critical environmental goals like waste reduction and ecosystem conservation. It's taking what we already know and applying it to what we desperately need. Section 3. Upgrading agriculture and transport. Now that we know who these workers are, let's see where they work. And the answer is everywhere. This upgrade applies to absolutely every major sector of human activity. But before we get into specifics, let's prime our brains by contrasting the old with the new. The traditional paradigm relied heavily on chemical pesticides, gas-guzzling internal combustion engines, and linear consumption. The green paradigm, it flips the script entirely. We're talking organic farmer cooperatives, biofuels, massive electric vehicle adoption, and sustainable construction. It's a night and day difference.
Seeing this paradigm shift in action across key industries is just staggering. In agriculture, we are moving fast away from synthetic runoff toward biopest management and new tech being spread through centers like Krishi Vigyan Kendras. In transportation, this shift is just as massive, moving away from traditional engines to EV adoption, spearheaded by the ESL and sustainable biofuels like bio-CNG. Oh, and infrastructure? We're upgrading from linear waste to rooftop rainwater harvesting and solar panel installation.
If we zoom out to grasp the true scale of the green economy ecosystem, notice how these aren't just isolated little bubbles. From green building architects and urban e-waste managers in the city, to solar installers on the energy grid, all the way out to rural organic farmers. These are all interconnected nodes of a larger living blueprint. The upgrade is literally happening across all landscapes.
Let's take a deep dive into the rural landscape for a second, focusing on precision and organic agriculture. The system is fundamentally being rewired here. Instead of struggling alone, you've got groups of 15 to 20 farmers federating into farmer-producer organizations, or FPOs, to share resources and drastically cut down agricultural risk. They're setting up designated zero-chemical zones, and my favorite part, the use of appropriate technology. We're talking low-cost, biodegradable bamboo channels for drip irrigation paired with water pumps run by a bicycle. Zero electricity needed. How cool is that?
Transitioning from the fields to our roads, let's look at next-generation transportation. The blueprint here is driven really heavily by policy.
The 2018 biofuel policy is actively pushing biomass use for bio-BCNG, biomethanol, and ethanol blending. At the same time, the EES LEV program is jump-starting the market for plug-in hybrids and battery electric vehicles. And crucially, this creates an enormous need for totally new technical skills, like specialized e-rickshaw mechanics. And hey, speaking of rewiring transit, get this metric: 90,000. That is the number of voluntary carbon credits the Delhi Metro earned purely for its massive energy efficiency. Actually, scratch that. It wasn't just earned. It was the absolute first rail system in the entire world to achieve this. To put that into perspective, it proves that upgrading mass transit has massive, highly quantifiable environmental payoffs. Section 4. Shielding against greenhouse gases. So we need to connect these grounded, sector-by-sector upgrades to the macro, global imperative of actively mitigating emissions. It's really interesting to visualize this concept as a physical shield. The buildup of heat-trapping gases, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, CFCs, that's the ultimate threat to the planet. But everyday jobs, from the person doing the solar installation to the technician building an EV, right down to the local organic farmer, they are actively building a frontline defense to bounce those emissions back down and cool the earth.
Section 5. Closing the circular economy.
But mitigating emissions is only part of the equation. This brings us to the ultimate visionary goal of green industrial design, redesigning our systems so that the very concept of waste is eliminated completely. Let's break down this circular economy into digestible steps. Step 1 is sourcing eco-friendly materials right from the get-go. Step 2 is strict quality control and reusing scrap directly on the production line. Step 3 involves judicious e-waste management when complex products finally die out. And Step 4 is solid waste segregation to feed usable materials right back into the system.
Picture this continuous loop running clockwise. Sourcing eco-friendly materials might mean using biodegradable alternatives, like swapping out plastic for banana leaf packaging. Moving around the loop, automated quality control catches defects early, so you don't waste rejected products. Reusing scrap literally means tossing offcuts right back into the production line. By the time we get to e-waste management and solid waste segregation, we aren't just chucking things into a landfill anymore, we're looping usable elements seamlessly back into stage 1. The whole shebang keeps materials in constant, highly useful rotation.
Section 6. Scaling impact for survival. Let's take a macro view now and see how protecting habitats ties everything together for our ultimate planetary survival. The crucial takeaway here is that green skills aren't just about urban infrastructure or factory loops. They involve vital, hands-on, natural actions. Up on the mountainsides, forest and vegetation management, like planting trees and avoiding overlogging, literally stabilizes the slopes and severely reduces the risk of landslides. Down in the valleys, restoring wetlands and investing in soil health acts as a natural sponge to buffer floods and build deep climate resilience. These natural restoration jobs, they're some of the most critical green-collar work out there.
When we look at how this all builds together, the scale of impact is just incredible. Down at the very foundation, you have individual green-collar actions: a tech installing a solar panel, a farmer using bamboo drip irrigation, an auditor managing e-waste. But look at how those micro-actions stack up. They aggregate upward to power national policies, like India's National Action Plan on Climate Change, driving its 8 core missions. And finally, that powers the absolute peak, global climate adaptation. We are creating an economy capable of surviving and thriving in completely new climatic conditions.
So, I want to end our explainer today with a truly empowering question. If choosing a green job is a literal act of planetary preservation, if every single solar panel, every organic farm, and every circular supply chain actively helps secure our future, what role will you play in architecting our future? The blueprint is right here in our hands. We just have to go out and execute it. Thanks so much for watching, and keep learning.